Hi folks, today I'm going to introduce you to probably the most versatile fly that I've ever come across. It's simple to tie and it catches just about everything. Tie it in several different sizes. I tie it all the way from a small trout fly like a 18 all the way up to a big saltwater hook that I catch striped bass on. So let's take a look at the fly and the materials and the procedure to tie it. Here are some of the sizes and variations of the fly that I tie. Tie it all the way from a large saltwater hook down to this one. Looks like it's about a 16, but I've tied them smaller. And I also tie them in olive and brown, but I've definitely found that black is the most effective. So I tie it in several different sizes. These larger ones I use for striped bass and saltwater. I don't really fish for muskie, but that would be, a good hook and a good size fly to use for those. These are the sizes that I would use for largemouth and smallmouth bass and pickerel. And then as you get down in size, I would use these would be the larger ones that I'd use for trout and some panfish, and then these down here would be used for trout and panfish. But you can see the variations in the sizes. You just adjust the size fly to the fish that you're targeting, and you'll be able to catch them. So let's take a look at some of the materials that you're going to need for this fly. The first thing is going to be the hook, and like I just showed you, you can tie it in several different sizes. It really all depends on what species of fish that you're targeting and what you're trying to imitate with the fly. In this case, I'm using a size 10 wet fly hook, and this size would be good for trout and panfish. The next thing you're going to use is some lead wire, or in this case it says lead free, but basically you just want to add some weight to the hook to get it to sink quickly. The next thing is some black marabou, and this is really the key to this fly. It just gives it so much life, and that's why it's such a fish catcher. In this case I'm going to be using black dubbing since it's a small fly. On the larger flies I use black chenille. And then you just need some black thread, some scissors, and some super glue. And there's, like I said, there's not much to this fly, but it is a fish catcher. So let's tie one up. Let's just get a hook in the vise there. And the first step is going to be to just get this lead wire on. This is an important part of the fly, and this is what gives it the jigging action that I like so much about it. So I just hold it at the back of the hook and just wrap it forward nice and even. I like to leave a little space at the head of the fly, and I like to leave a little bit of space at the back of the fly for where I'm going to tie the marabou in for the tail. Just wrap that up nice and neat. Now let's just cover it up with some thread. I usually do the lead without having the thread on there, so the thread's not in the way when you're wrapping that around. So let's just tie the thread on there, cut off the tag, and I like to just go back and forth until I cover it up. Nothing fancy, just trying to secure that lead down on the hook. And I like to cover it up and just get it so it's all black mostly. Alright, that looks good. Next is the tail, and this marabou is what really makes this fly. This is what gives it all the action. I mean, you see how this moves in the air. When you get this wet, it slicks down real thin, but it undulates in the water, and it really looks like something alive. So I like to take it from the side of the feather. Now let me back this out a little bit. I like to take it from the side of the feather and just snip it off at the base. Then I like to try and bunch it all together, kind of slick it down, and that looks pretty even. Sometimes I'll pull the ends, the long fibers, but this looks pretty even the way it is. So alright, so now I'm just going to tie this right on the tail here. Let's get a few wraps on there, and I'm going to snip it off right at the base there. That's where that little space comes in where I left the lead. So now it gives it a nice little taper right there. It's nice and even, and that's all I really use for the tail. I don't want a lot of material on there. The next part is, this is a small fly, so I'm just going to use some dubbing. I believe this is muskrat under fur, just dyed black. And I like to taper the body. I like it a little skinny at the back, and I kind of like to make it get a little fatter towards the head of the fly. Just my personal preference, but I think it looks better that way. Just keep adding until you get it. You can go back and forth with the dubbing and make it as, you know, any shape that you want. Make it as fat or as skinny as you like. I'm just going to put a little bit more. There you go. Now I'm just going to put a head on it. Couple of half hitches. Do one more. That's it. Now I just, like I always do, I like to hit it with a little bit of super glue. That's a little too much. And that's the finished fly. When this thing gets in the water, it really undulates and moves, and it looks like something alive, and that's really what the fish like about it. Looks like something that they really want to eat. So there you have it. It doesn't get much simpler than that, and it doesn't get much more effective either. So you might be asking yourself, what makes this the most versatile fly? Well, the first reason is the lifelike action. The way that we tied the fly with the lead in the head and the marabou tail, it just gives it this natural swimming motion, this up and down jigging motion that just makes it look like something that's really alive, and that really triggers a lot of fish to strike. Here are some examples of the natural swimming action. The second reason is you can fish it from top to bottom. You could cast it out and start your retrieve right away and fish it right up close to the surface, or you could let it sink down and fish towards the bottom. You can also fish it on a sinking line and in deeper water to get it down to the bottom. So you can fish it in any section of the water column from top to bottom. The next reason is you can fish anywhere. You can fish streams, rivers, ponds, lakes. You can fish the ocean. You know, I haven't really found a place where I couldn't fish it. The next reason is the ways that you can fish it. Some of the versatility of it is just the different ways that you can fish it. In a river or a stream, you could dead drift it like an insect just drifting in the current. You could swing it across the current and make it look like a fish, or just get that reaction type strike on the swing. Or you could strip it and make it look like a a darting minnow or something that's trying to get away. So here's my favorite way to fish this fly. Today I'm fishing a pond for stock trout. Making a roll cast here because I got some trees and brush behind me there. But I'm using a floating line with a 9-foot leader tapered down to about 5x. You can see I made the cast. Now here's where you have to have a little bit of patience and give that fly a chance to sink down. So I'll give it a minute or two, and depending on how deep I think the fish are, I'll vary how much I let it sink down. So I'm starting to retrieve here, short, quick strips to get that fly to swim, and there's the hit. I'm going to fast forward or just skip right through the fighting of the fish and just show you the fish here. So there's the fish, nice rainbow. He's a little feisty. And there's the fly right in the corner of the mouth. Here's another cast. I already let the fly sink down, and I'm starting to retrieve there. And there's the strike. And another nice rainbow, and flies right in the corner of the mouth again. Well, hopefully I've convinced you that this simple fly is effective in many different situations, and I personally wouldn't go anywhere without it. But don't take my word for it. Tie some up and go try them out on your home waters. Well, till next time, good luck and good fishing.